Hi there, and welcome to the latest edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans, and where the content is absolutely free. It is a special preview pod for you tonight, guys. We're going to have a look at the Ross Counyl game on Sunday, and we'll have a wee look at the game from last night in Denmark. As I say every week, guys, it's not just the pod we do here at Gersnet. We also, there's the forums, articles, social media. There's a history archive on the website as well. We would actually, if you enjoy what we do here in Gersnet, if you can give us a wee like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel, put the word out there on social media. I'm joined by John tonight, John McCallum, who, before we talk about anything else, John, we need to talk about your tea recommendation. Now, I got a bit of stick from Ross last week about this. He called me, I think I can quote him here, a middle-aged bore, because I was
Ross would know.
He would know. Well, he's 30 now, so he's in
parts of Glasgow, that's past middle age.
Well past it. He was sort of saying, because I put a wee tweet out there saying that I was over the moon that I'd bought this big bag of Yorkshire tea, 480 bags or something like that, and that was a highlight of my week. And it really is quite sad. It was the highlight of my week, right? I came skipping out to Asda that morning. Anyway, but you ruined it. You absolutely fucking ruined it because you made it. You could. Yeah, that's possibly the more, what's the word, positive way of looking at it. But the negative way of looking at it is I've bought 500 tea bags that I'm probably now not going to use because you recommended these fellows.
Ah, yes.
Thompson's.
Yes.
Apparently they're quite staunch.
Well, East Belfast tea blenders.
That is staunch.
What was that?
That is staunch.
They've been there for a long time. They've been there 100 years or something. I got a factory in East Belfast, and I discovered them quite a few years ago now. They used to be called Punjana. It was, for years they were called Punjana tea. Thompson's is the family that it's the same family. It's the same family that have been doing it for, I think, maybe 4 generations now that have been doing it. But no, it's good tea. On a Friday night, I know the people who listen to this, they want recommendations on good beverages.
Well, it's the middle-aged bore podcast, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's a middle-aged bore podcast, especially when it's two middle-aged guys. And another thing, we were talking about this before we came on air. The first time I had my first brew with it was Sunday, sitting watching the game, and we won 6-1. So that's it. I'm contractually obliged now to drink this stuff, especially when Rangers are playing. Every game. Yeah. Aye. Anyway, before we go on, and as I said in the sort of intro there, John, we'll have a wee look at the game last night. You were disappointing, and then we'll have a look at Saturday. But probably good to start with the breaking news about St Mirren's chairman. What's his name? Is it John Needham?
Yeah.
He's been charged by the SFA for his sectarian tweets that he put out against Rangers, which I have to say, obviously it's thoroughly deserved, but it's quite funny as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the mental gymnastics that's going to come for Graham Spears, especially on this, because he was the first one out. I put a tweet out there like 24 hours before he did, saying it's an absolute certainty that Graham Spears is going to get the guy that tries to defend him. And sure enough, like a day later, I interviewed him for a pod, and he's a wonderful guy. All that shit, right? I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to say about it, and your Michael Stewart's and all that as well.
Yeah, look, we'll see what comes of it. I find it. I mean, the man, apart from being fairly senior at St Mirren, he was apparently a very successful investment banker for a number of years, and you just think, what possesses people to say things like that? Yeah, I know. You do get an insight into people, and I noticed his after it all kind of came to light, he put out something saying, look, that's not who I am, it doesn't represent me. And you think,
well, why say it then?
Why did you say it?
I'm pretty sure. I'm actually wondering if investment banker is rhyming slang for something else in this occasion.
I don't know. It's a strange one, and I don't know the man. I've never met him. I still find it peculiar that a St Mirren fan would be choosing to spend his time tweeting about us. I still find that whole aspect of Scottish football very peculiar. It's and we come across it more and more now, where guys like this, and man, clearly, he must be fairly intelligent, and yet that's how he chooses to spend his time, and hell mend him.
Well, it seems to tie in with the general mood. I've thought this for a few years now, and we've discussed it on the pod. This Rangers are fair game for anything. And there was that, I mean, we'll not go into too much detail because we want to look at the football, but that whole business with the Hibs chief executive or chairman the other day blaming us for their COVID problems. Like, well, mate, how does that work? You know what I mean?
It was just, again, I saw that and I thought, well, he's just playing to the gallery. This is an attempt to deflect what, on what I've seen seems to be some fairly sloppy behaviour from Hibs on a professional level. And this is an attempt at deflecting away from, I think he would be expecting and should be getting a fair bit of criticism. From what I gather, from what I hear about, what they were doing and how they were behaving. I'm not saying they were behaving badly, but they weren't behaving in a professional way. Everybody knows the rules. Football teams in particular, I think, we've lost players this season through close connection, through members of their family, people they've known catching COVID. Football teams in particular know, and it's just. Like you say, why is this Hibs guy? Why is he dragging us into it? I just think he's playing his gallery. He's just trying to, let's get some of the Hibs fans on side. Oh, we can blame Rangers. No one's going to look into it. Nobody's actually going to look at that and say it's bullshit.
But I mean, what is he basing it on? I mean, I know there was a whistleblower, but was it like Douglas Park sitting there? You know what I mean? Saying, you're only wearing your masks. You know what I mean?
Honestly, was sitting in the foyer of the hotel. By all accounts, it's some guy in a hotel in Russia somewhere, who was very unhappy about how they were behaving.
How do they know that there's a connection there? Like, I don't want to go into it, but
he must have been good looking.
Yeah, well, that's true. Aye. He was maybe drinking Thompson's tea. Maybe that was it. He maybe had a big bag of Thompson's tea with him, and he was like, East Belfast staunch person. Anyway, right, enough tea chat and enough COVID and Hibs and St Mirren and all that. Onto the matters in hand. Last night, John, again, just sort of really rhymed with so much that's happened this season. Another really, not a disastrous result, but disappointing. Again, it felt like we could have got more, and the performance, again, a bit slack in places. Just really disappointing. Yeah,
it was. It really was disappointing. I think after the game at home, we all saw that, Brondby are not, Brondby are the poorest team we've seen in group stages, I think, over the last 2 or 3 seasons. I think Brondby are the poorest team.
Hadn't scored a goal until last night.
Yeah. And even last night, even though we were giving them every encouragement to play, you still felt if we could just have stepped up a gear, they were there for the taking.
Yeah.
They aren't a great team. I don't think they have a lot of confidence just now, and I think we gave them confidence in the way we started playing, because we actually started off quite well. But for some reason, I don't know. I think it's even more frustrating, Colin, because after the Motherwell game, you thought, right, has it clicked? Finally, has it now kind of reached that point where we're playing to the potential that we know we can play to? And it did feel like Sunday's game was the blip.
Yeah.
And of course it was only even it was even Sunday's game, we still gave away that first goal. And it seemed inevitable, even watching it, giving away the corner, and you're thinking, right, okay, just before half time, your heart sank. You thought, something's going to come of this, and sure enough, I don't blame Balogun. I don't think, I think he had to put his head on it. The ball's coming across the box, you have to put your head on it. I think instinct takes over. But I do question the defending. There was a chance, Colin, you'll remember it. The ball fell to one of their players, I think actually one of their centre halves. And as it was, he didn't take the chance. But he just found himself unmarked again from a corner. And when you saw the replay, you saw Balogun and Barisic marking each other. literally holding each other and marking. They weren't realised they weren't marking the opposition; they were marking each other. It was awful. And I actually think Balogun's having a good season. I don't know Barisic is. So very, very frustrating, Colin. It really was.
I mean, on that goal, I mean, it is incredibly frustrating in terms of going behind. As every week now, we go behind every single week. So essentially, I've said this for a few weeks now. You're going into games now, but we need at least two. Because we're going to concede our inevitable one. The obligatory one goal that we give away every week. And as you say, I mean, McCoy was quite critical to Balogun in the commentary last night, but I'm with you. I don't think there's anything he can do. It's going to cross the face of his goal. If there's someone behind him, so I think he's got to go for it.
I think it's just instinct. Actually, I don't actually think it's so quick. I don't think you get time to think. You just put your head on it.
Yeah,
it's just one of these things.
I look more at Morelos and his sort of failure to mark the guy who's flicked it on. But again, it's just really frustrating because, I mean, although I know they've taken a lot of stick for their first half performance, I didn't think we played that badly in the first half. Created a few chances. Like you, I thought we started really well. Yeah. But even when we'd sort of tailed off a wee bit and we weren't, at that same level as we were the sort of first 10, 15 minutes, I felt confident. I felt that we were in control of the game, and then a stupid goal like that, plus the timing of it. It's like the last kick of the ball before half time, and all of a sudden it's all bets are off, and you've got to really go for it in the second half. One thing I would like to say as well, and this isn't a sort of a conspiracy theory and stuff like that, but the whole VAR thing, like, see if they're going to use VAR, it would be nice to see how they've came to the decision. You know what I mean?
So on the Morelos goal.
The Morelos goal, I'm not convinced they went out, but you've kind of got to go with the linesman's call, right? He's closest to it, all the rest of it. I'm not convinced. No, but every other VAR decision, they come out with these lines, and there was none of that last night. It was just, all right, they're checking the goal, like the goal stands. And I'm thinking, it seemed to me that they obviously don't have a camera.
No, I don't think they did either.
Yeah, so they're just like, right, we'll just need to go with it. You know what I mean?
I think so. I think that's exactly what happened, Colin. I think they've looked at it and said, we can't actually tell, so you have to go with the on-field decision.
Yeah.
I suppose you'd have to say fair enough to that. Like you, I didn't think it went out from the angle we saw it at. He had the ball, where the ball was positioned in the corner, kind of D or whatever we're calling that shape there, the corner triangle.
Yeah.
Where he had the ball, I thought he had it far enough in that allowed for that slight outturn. But and had that in, it could have been a very different game. But that's the way the season's going just now. Those ones aren't going our way just now. That those decisions aren't falling for us. We're not making enough luck for ourselves during games. Really, really frustrating. Because I don't expect Brondby to get another point, and I'd be surprised to get another goal. Frankly, because they're a poor side. They shouldn't. They must have got lucky to get to this position, I think, and that's what makes it even more frustrating. That we should have taken 2 or 3 off them last night.
Yeah.
Very, very annoying.
On at the second half, Sean. I mean, it wasn't very far in when Gerrard decided, right, enough's enough. Triple changes. He's brought on Kent. Good to see him back. He's obviously been out for a wee while.
Yeah.
He's brought on Hadji. He's brought on Roof. That did seem to improve us a wee bit. I thought Hadji and Kent in particular were involved a lot, and obviously involved in the goal. It came from Kent's assist and all that. I thought it was interesting the comments that Gerrard made after the game about the sort of front three, sort of suggesting that he's maybe got it wrong and there could be big changes. I mean, it's hard to totally see where he's coming from in terms of what he's actually saying, but reading between the lines, you do wonder if that was aimed at Morelos there, that there's just not enough coming for him at the moment.
No, I mean Morelos has been very frustrating this season. In previous seasons with us, he's gone through periods where he wasn't scoring goals, but he's always been contributing. He's been working hard. He's come deep. He's shielded the ball. He's brought defenders. Whereas I just didn't feel he was working hard enough last night. I just didn't think he was doing the job that he can do. Sakala, I can't decide if Sakala's a confidence player. And if his confidence went down a little bit, he had that chance in the first kind of 10 minutes where he put it wide and then he picked up a very soft booking, and I just don't know.
The booking was ridiculous.
It was a terrible decision. I don't know. I mean, I thought Morelos's decision booking was poor. I thought, it's a foul. I don't think it's a booking, but that's the way of it. But I don't know. Morelos says he's not firing. He hasn't fired all season. You see glimpses. You see moments of him, but he's not. I don't think he's given us a full 90 minutes this season. Where he's been the player he can be. He's not the only one in the side, but when he's not doing it, then he might as well be on the bench, because if he isn't contributing, he's contributing nothing. The position he plays, he has to be doing something, or else you can't carry him. So I think the only thing that raised an eyebrow with me was bringing Barisic straight back in, because I thought Bassey had done enough to keep his place. I thought Bassey had played quite well at the weekend, and I thought Bassey had done enough to keep his place. Other than that, I thought, a team that won 6-1 at the weekend, you start them. That front three, you give them the start. Why not? I don't think Brondby are any better than Motherwell, frankly. Not much better. And so I think I don't think he made the wrong call in terms of how, the team he picked. But yeah, it just wasn't clicking for some reason, and it's the same reason it's not been clicking all season. And if we could just figure out what it is.
Yeah, that'd be good. It would be really good if we could do that, actually. I mean, onto the goal that, Hadji, as I said, Hadji and Kent were involved. I mean, I thought Kent, I put it out on social media a couple of weeks ago after that draw against Aberdeen, I think it was, that I didn't think the way Rangers were playing at the moment that Ryan Kent and Ryan Jack coming back into the team is necessarily going to fix the problems that we have. However, I will say last night, I did kind of think, watching Ryan Kent, he did cause a lot of problems. You're kind of thinking, there's no doubt we have been missing that. A Ryan Kent firing on all cylinders definitely gives us something.
Yeah. I mean, the goal was an absolutely beautiful goal.
Yeah.
And made by two of the three subs. And I think, funnily enough, I was talking to my cousin during the match, and when the three substitutions were getting made, I said, I'm surprised that Aribo's not one of them, because I didn't think he was having much of a game. But I'm glad they didn't take him off, because did you see that pass to Kent? Just a touch.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? He's got feet like hands at times. I mean, the deftness of that touch, Kent took it in his stride. It was a stunning goal, fantastic goal, worthy of the international stage. That goal, I think. But Kent is another one who didn't start the season particularly well. I don't know if he was carrying a knock, and which eventually caught up with him. I don't know. There's certainly been talk that there was, but he changed the game last night when he came on. He gave us a completely different dimension. He terrifies defenders because he can run him. He has pace. He has skill. He makes defenders very, very nervous. Yeah, you saw last night when he came on. I don't know how fit he is, but when he came on last night, I thought he changed the game. I mean, I know Hadji scored the goal, but I actually think Hadji and Roof did a great deal when they came on. Although I'll bet that Brondby goalkeeper was absolutely bricking himself coming out that time when he saw Roof coming in on him.
So I'm telling you that there wasn't a red card. He was entitled to go for it. We've had this conversation already. But anyway, so I mean, it's kind of strange that it doesn't feel like we've got going in this group at all. It's started with 2 defeats. Obviously, we got the win against Brondby a couple of weeks back at Ibrox, the draw last night. So it seems kind of surreal that a 2-0 win or a 2-goal win against Sparta, that'll be enough to see us through. That's based on Brondby not winning any more games. I think that's a fairly safe assumption. So, and it's kind of, when I was reading that today, someone put up the sort of what can potentially happen. And I was looking at it and I was like, that's actually, we're in a far better situation than I thought. If we win with 2 clear goals, we're in the playoff for the knockout stage. And then I remembered my first European game against Sparta Prague in 1991, when Rangers needed to win by 2 clear goals because they'd lost the first leg 1-0 in Prague. Stuart McCall scored 2 goals. We were home and dry, and then about 5 minutes ago, Scott Nisbet contrived to cut out a cross. There wasn't a huge amount of power in it, but somehow Andy Gorham managed to squirm in it, and it went in. And that memory just came right back. And plus, we don't have a great record against teams from Prague.
We have a terrible record against teams.
Yeah. So, I mean, on one side of things, you think 2-0, can do that, or 3-1 or whatever, that's a doable result. But on the other hand, you're like, oh, actually, we've been here before and we don't have a great record against these clubs. It's maybe not as straightforward as it looks, I would say.
Rangers of last season, you'd have gone into that game thinking we can do this. Rangers of this season, I don't know. We'll see near the time how the team's playing, but like you, I'm not filled with confidence. Rangers' form this season, particularly in Europe, has been disappointing. The game away to Prague, I don't think Sparta are as good a team as Slavia were last season. I think Slavia were a much better side than Sparta are. I wasn't massively impressed with them. As I said, the team from last season, Rangers last season, I think would have got the result they needed they got a result away against Brondby, and I think they would have got a result, at least a draw against Sparta this season. I don't know. It's the problem we've got is you can't see us keeping a clean sheet, and we're not scoring enough just now. And that would be the challenge for us. So it would be very frustrating to, go into the Lyon match needing something. That I think would probably be a step beyond us.
Well, I mean, you could hope. I mean, Lyon would be through at that point, if they're not qualified already. So
probably you would assume, I think Lyon have.
So you would assume the final game, they would surely be resting some players. But I agree, you wouldn't want to be going into that game needing something. But I mean, I was thinking about this today, that this whole thing about last season Rangers. I think last season Rangers could have got something against Lyon, and maybe a draw.
Absolutely,
I think we would have definitely at least got a draw in Prague. We would have won the 2 games against Brondby.
I think so.
You're possibly looking at already, if not through, then all but through, if you know what I mean. And instead, we're, as you say, you're looking at a team that's struggling to score goals and keeping clean sheets, looking to get a 2-goal victory. It's, on the face of it, it looks doable, but when you think about how Rangers have been this season, I think it looks tricky at best.
Our form's been poor. It's been very patchy, and we're conceding goals that we weren't conceding before, and playing against teams like Sparta and Lyon, they'll create chances against us, and they've got good enough players that if we keep giving teams chances, they'll score goals against us. It's a few weeks away, so we'll see what happens between now and then. But last night, as we've said already, Colin, I felt on Sunday, right, is this us finally found our form? Is that the day where we say, right, Rangers are now back, and we build on this and we take this forward? Didn't look like it last night.
No,
looked like what are the problems are that are dogging us just now, and I'd love to know what they are. I'd love to know why we're just off it. Why so many players seem to be off it. But whatever it is causing it, it's still there.
Is it maybe the case that this team's maybe just reached the end of its cycle? Because Alex Ferguson's big on that, and he says, teams go into cycles and they'll reach a peak, and it would seem that last season was this particular player's peak, that group peak last year, and now this year they're coming down again. They
certainly peaked. I mean, I think it's unrealistic to expect them to do what they did last season.
Yeah.
But what frustrates me is we're seeing so little of what we saw last season. I can accept the league being a lot closer this season. I can accept us dropping points in certain games, but what puzzles me is why we're seeing the fluency we had, not just last season, but even the season before. There was a style to how we played, particularly in Europe. A possession, crisp passing, quick passing, keeping the ball, moving it quickly. That just seems to have gone. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I don't know if teams have figured out how to play us, if tactically teams have understood how to close down space. I really don't know. You might be right. Maybe this particular team needs rebuilt. If that is the case, that's a concern. You kind of hope you would get more than one league-winning season out of this team. And I still think we should. The age of those players, Colin, I can't help. I don't think we're through the cycle yet. Tav just turned 30. All right, McGregor, Davis are guys who are older, but the rest of that team, are in their prime. I don't feel we should be at the end of a cycle yet, or even on the down of a cycle. I still think there's a bit in there. I agree with you about cycles and teams. I think that is very, very true. But I don't think this team should be at the end of that cycle yet.
Right, on to Sunday, John. Going back to sort of what Gerard was saying, we were talking about earlier on about, he's maybe got the front three wrong. Can you see? It would seem to me there will be changes there, but what sort of changes? I mean, I think we can all be fairly certain that Ryan Kent will certainly play some part and probably start. In terms of the number 9 position, that middle position where Morelos is at the moment, can you see a change there on Sunday?
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because, none of them, Roof's not in form either. That's the frustrating thing.
See,
Roof's not playing particularly well.
See, I hear loads of people saying this, but I think he scored 4 in the last 6.
Right, his goal ratio is good, but just watching him play, he's, again, I don't think he's found the form that he had. Roof is a player, in my opinion, Roof's a player who's only at Rangers because of his fitness, because he is unable to put together a full season without picking up injuries. And I think that's the reason, without wishing to upset people, I think that's the reason he's playing at our level in terms of domestic league, because he's a better player than that. I think he could and should be playing at a higher level. But this season I've been disappointed. I think both Roof and Morelos have not reached the kind of form that we know they're both capable of. Sakala obviously had a great game against Motherwell, certainly a great half against Motherwell. But prior to that, I'd been a bit kind of unsure if he's a player who we've bought potential. They've seen something in Sakala. They've seen a guy who clearly has a ton of pace. He seems to be an enthusiastic guy, a happy guy. He's a guy who's bringing that side to it. You're hoping he's going to be one of these kind of irrepressible guys, that just kind of keeps coming back for more. But I'm not comparing him to McCoist, but maybe a similar type of personality.
In terms of personality, and he's a total opposite of Morelos as well, isn't he? He does play with a smile on his face. And he's brought us one of the best songs in years as well. So
exactly. But he's clearly still a work in progress. He's a guy who they've bought potential. They hope to be able to coach him and train him into becoming something. I think he's not the finished article. Far from it. So I don't know, mate. Do you persevere with Morelos, because he is still our best forward? Yeah. Do you persevere for him against Ross County? Aye, I think you probably do. Bottom of the league, fairly. They're not in good. Although it's funny, I looked at their form before coming in, and they didn't play last weekend.
But that was their fault, to be fair.
Absolutely. And I think
we need to hold our hands up on that.
We should apologise to him for that. But they didn't play last weekend. The week before, or the midweek before or something, they absolutely hammered Dundee 5-0 in a kind of bottom of the table kind of clash. So that certainly should have boosted their confidence. And if you look at their games before that, Colin, they only lost by the odd goal in each game.
Yeah.
They only lost their 3 games before. They only lost by 1 goal.
They only lost by 1 goal the last time we played them up the road.
Yeah. So they're not. The league's funny. As you know yourself. There's each season there's kind of 4 teams at the top who are having a decent season, and then every other team could get relegated or qualify for Europe. It just depends if they can go and get a kind of 2 or 3 game run. Ross County, I kind of liked Ross County before they stuck Malky Mackay in charge. kind of got off them a bit since then.
Funnily enough, Malky Mackay's another one that Graham Spears likes to defend. He's a lovely guy.
It's a bit strange, isn't it? It's a selective hearing, but then we've known about that for a while as well.
Yeah.
People hear what they want to hear. But anyway, look, I don't want to spend my Friday night talking about people like that. But I'd be inclined to start with Morelos. I'd still think he's our best number 9. I against bottom of the league, I would still be inclined to start with him. Who you play alongside him is the question. Do you start with Roof? Do you start with Sakala? Do you start with all 3? I don't think he will. I think he tends to bring in, a Kent or a Hadji. If Kent's fit, if Kent has shown no, if they think he can get start Kent, he'll start. I think Kent's a player that if he's fit, he starts. I think he's in the Tav, Goldson. I think Kent's in there with them.
I think it could be the other way around in terms of, he only came on for like the last 40 minutes last night. I think they might say give him an hour, start him and give him an hour, and hopefully by that point the game's done. We're comfortable. He's done a job. Get him off and get a few other boys on and get minutes in the legs. You're saying you would go with Morelos against Ross County. I don't want to sound like I'm having an absolute batter in the Morelos tonight. I just feel at this particular moment in time he's not playing that well, and I do wonder if he would maybe go with Roof there tomorrow. And I like Aribo on that right hand side, I must admit. I mean, I know things improved last night when he dropped into the middle 3. But I do prefer. I thought last season when we had Kent, Morelos, and Aribo as that front 3, I felt we caused a lot of problems. Because both players on each side are causing havoc. Then you've got the fullbacks coming up, overlapping. It just seemed that whenever it was that front 3, in my memory anyway, that's when we caused teams lots of problems and scored a lot of goals. So I would like to see Aribo in that front 3 again tomorrow.
Yeah, I would as well. I much prefer Aribo playing up. I'd much prefer him in our front 3 than playing in midfield. I think he's much more effective further up the park. I agree with you entirely. If Kent's fit, he'll start. I don't think there's any doubt. If he's fit, he'll start. And like you say, if they even think, he can play an hour, and then maybe we take him off. There's the international break after the game, isn't there? So,
another one.
Kent has got. Yeah, I know you'd be pleased. Kent has. He's got an enforced break then anyway. So, they probably may risk it because of that. But you wouldn't want to lose him for. You want to see Kent going out for another 6 weeks. I'd almost rather they stuck him in the bench against Ross County and brought him on if they have to, than they take a chance with him. But you hope they know what they're doing. But certainly a front 3 of Kent, Aribo, and Morelos, I'd be fairly happy if that was to start. And then you're really only missing Jack. He's really the only guy you'd say if he was fit he would start. At Ballaghan's having a decent season. Helander might come in for Goldson, who's having a poorer season than he was before. But no, I would certainly start with that, Colin. That'd be my choice. But if he goes with Roof, it's not like I'm going to complain about it. I think Sakala will drop down. I don't think he'll start.
No. I think it could be Kent, a toss up between Morelos and Roof and Aribo. Yeah. Well, that's what I would like to see anyway. Because I'd like to see
Ross County are going to be very defensive. You assume Ross County are going to come and play for a draw. Play deep, plenty of bodies in amongst, and I don't think that suits Sakala. I think Sakala's a player who, pace is his kind of biggest asset.
Space in behind, that's what he needs. Yeah.
And I don't expect them to give us any space in behind. So, I think they need Morelos for that.
That's what I mean. You need to turn defenders in, and that's why I think Kent and Aribo are probably the best for that. I mean, I know we're sort of saying it was a disappointing result last night, and it was. But in terms of the result against Motherwell last week, and Celtic dropping points last week, which was a hoot, especially when, the referee succumbed and gave them the most bizarre penalty I think I've ever seen in my life.
Strange.
Honestly, don't even go there. Masonic conspiracies. And, we've managed to sort of get a 4-point lead back after sort of losing at midweek when we had that draw against Aberdeen. I would look at Sunday as a real opportunity, one, to get a clean sheet. Please give us a clean sheet. That would be great. And two, another opportunity, maybe get 3 or 4 goals and, boost the goal difference a wee bit, because Celtic are a wee bit ahead of us on that at the moment. And also maintain that 4-point lead going in. And who knows? I mean, I'm struggling to remember who Celtic have got this week, but if they drop points, we could maybe even increase the points difference in the lead at the moment. So, but at the very least, we should be looking to do is maintain it and going into that, international break with that 4 points and come back again for the third time this season already. Hopefully, come back a bit refreshed and ready to go again.
Yeah, Celtic are playing Dundee, so
I
wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Gordon Strachan has already decided who's winning that match. So I wouldn't be too confident about Dundee taking much off them.
Yeah, one good thing for Lee Griffiths is it'll be the only game he doesn't get abuse for his social media activities. He'll no need to kick in and into the crowd tomorrow.
Yeah, so no, look, it's all about what we do. I know it was funny last week. Celtic fans kind of thought they were going to end up top of the league, and when they've had these chances and so far this season, they've fluffed their lines. We keep giving them these chances to come back and they fluff their lines, but it's down to what we do. Ultimately, this is down to what we do. We should. Ross Counyl at home. If you don't take full points from that game, you don't deserve to win the league. It's as simple as that. Ross County at home, playing the bottom side at home. We in a game where you need to win, then if we don't take full points from that, Colin, then I'm glad I'm not on Sunday night, because that would be that's one of these. It's one of these games you don't like to be. You don't want to be confident. You don't want to be overly confident about it, but in theory, that's the easiest game of the season. At home against bottom of the league. That should be a game that we should win with a bit to spare. But we both know the way we're playing just now might not go that way. It might not go that way.
No, I think we should be good. And I'm genuinely hopeful for a clean sheet. I never thought I'd say this, after last season. I think Sunday's the day. Clean sheet.
What's changed? I mean, this is the thing that puzzles me: is what is it that's changed in our defence just now? Is it concentration? Is it is it cover from midfield? I mean, Barisic. I was at the St Mirren game, and Barisic was poor.
Yeah, he's
he
been
really
poor
was. Barisic was poor in that match. Defensively, he was poor. I didn't think he was. I didn't think he looked great last night. His deliveries into the box can be world class. His ability to deliver across is as good as anybody in these islands, in my opinion. But defensively, he goes to sleep at times. And I don't know. Is it Jack they're missing? Is it just that guy who sees these things, who closes it down, who protects the defence? I don't know. The goal he gave against Motherwell was just farcical.
There was another one last night with goals from a header that went out
exactly.
for a corner. And see something, there was a wee incident last night in the second half. They had a series of corners and I had a look at McGregor. And McGregor's always someone who looks determined and confident and angry. And he had a sort of rabbit in the headlights look at him. And I thought, he just doesn't look confident. He just doesn't look confident at all. So, but hopefully, all that will change on Sunday. We'll get a clean sheet, 3 or 4 goals, hopefully, and get it up Ross County. Ross County were the first team I've ever seen, by the way. Have I ever told you that story?
I think you might have mentioned that.
I bore everybody. I'm a middle-aged bore, so I'd bore everyone with that story. But it was back in the 70s when my mum and dad we moved up to the Highlands, and so I got and they were a Highland League team then, so it was a bit like going to Camelin Juniors or Pollock or whatever it is now. It was like the terracing was a big mud hill with like a corrugated iron roof, and very, very different from what they've got today. So I've always had a wee bit of a soft spot for them, but right now, as you said earlier on, because of Malcolm Mackay, I hope they get stuffed on Sunday. Yeah. So, get it up them. Anyway, John, looking at the time, I think we've pretty much covered everything there. So,
well, I think we haven't covered just everything, because I noticed on social media, and I caught the glimpse of the strip behind you, that it's the anniversary of the win against Leeds.
It was yesterday, 29 years.
Yeah. And I did wonder if that was why you brought that particular strip out to one of the greatest European nights. Certainly I've ever been fortunate that I wasn't there, to be fair. I was there at the home match. I wasn't there at the away game. But that away game was so far removed from that Brondby game last night. But it's funny. I've seen the highlights a couple of times over the last couple of days. And Mark Hateley was a force of nature that night. And you look at a player like that, and you think, geez, how he would do in that team just now.
I know.
A player like that can attack crosses, that can terrify defenders. Wow. With some of the deliveries that we put in there. But I watched that first goal again. And I remember at the time, the slightly peculiar setup of Gersnet winning the header and knocking it on.
Yeah, it's sort of opposite where it should have been. It should be Hateley knocking it on for Gersnet.
And but to have the presence of mind and then the ability to just hit that ball and what a goal it was. It's not, we don't talk about that goal enough. In terms of looking at the great Rangers goals, for some reason we don't talk about that goal enough. What a goal on what an occasion as well.
Yeah, I think the reason we don't look at that goal in the way we maybe should is because Lukic, I don't think, covered himself in glory with his attempt to save it, and he gave us a goal at Ibrox as well. Mind, it's him that scored the equaliser. I actually think the second goal at Leeds is the best. The move leading up to that, and then the cross for Hateley himself and the header from McCoist. I mean, it's a game I always go back to. I always talk about this fun and say, just wish you'd experienced it, because we really were the biggest and the best in Britain at the time.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if another club in Scotland will ever be like that again. I mean, we'll maybe beat English teams here and there, and might even beat the champions England now and again, but we were also the biggest. I mean, there was no one bigger than us at that particular point, and that's part of the reason the kit's there, but also it was my wee nod to Walter. So 92, 93 I think was his pinnacle, and obviously a wee bit sad this week, his funeral on Wednesday. So yeah, my wee nod to Walter.
You think 92, 93 was his pinnacle? Because I've not spoken about Walter's passing, and I was surprised at how much it affected me. I didn't expect, we're older guys, you kind of don't think these things will affect you, but I was surprised how much it affected me, actually. And I actually think Walter's second spell at Rangers was his pinnacle. I think first time round, he came in, obviously, he took over Souness's side, which was already a winning side. He had he had this money at his disposal, which he spent wisely at times, and other times not so wisely. But he built fantastic sides, and I agree with you. On that particular Leeds side, that season, we nearly made the European Cup final. I'd have fancied us against AC Milan that season. Yeah. AC Milan were a brilliant side, but they didn't turn up for the final. I'd have fancied us, having watched that. Who knows what could have happened. But I still think the second time round, on a limited budget, against a Celtic side with a bigger budget, against a Celtic side that had had success, I think that side he built actually was where he showed his true genius.
Yeah,
getting guys like Papic, and turning them into the player he became.
Maldini.
He did things, managing to get, Naismith. Naismith was a fantastic player for us under Smith. Finding guys and just making them better. So second time round, but anyway.
Me and Stuart done a sort of a tribute pod, and I said that his second time was his best period. I think he showed more of what he was capable of, for the reasons that you said there. He didn't have the budget and all that kind of thing, and I think that second time that team really, it was more of his character that was in that team. Previous teams had a wee bit more flair, because they had a bigger budget. That team was more his than any other, I think. However, I'll always go back to that 92-93 season. 1 goal away for the Champions League final, and everything that I was at the League Cup final when we beat Aberdeen. I was at Celtic Park when we beat Aberdeen to win the treble. I was at every European game apart. I couldn't get a ticket for Marseille. That was the only game I couldn't get a ticket for.
Were you not at the Marseille game?
No, I was at every game bar that. Couldn't get a ticket. But everything, and I always, the Leeds that night against Leeds at Ibrox, always, again, my son, I'm just like, wish he'd experienced that. The noise when the two teams came out, I've never heard anything like it. So,
I agree.
So that's why that kit's there tonight. It'll be a different one on Sunday, John. I'll think of another theme on Sunday. But a wee nod to Walter in 92-93 tonight.
Yeah, it was a sad week. It really was.
Right, guys, that's us. Big thanks to John for his tea recommendations and his contribution tonight. Great stuff as always. We were live tonight, but as I say every week, guys, the pod will be available to download and stream on a variety of platforms from tomorrow, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all your usual places. We'll be back on Sunday night. I think I'm hosting with Patrick and Gary guesting. In the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. Until